You ever walk into a town, look around, and quietly ask yourself, hang on, is this an actual place or did somebody build a movie set and forget to tell anyone? Because Australia's full of them. Towns that look like they were drawn by a bloke who'd never been outside but had read a lot of postcards. Places where the air smells different, the people are suspiciously relaxed, and you start wondering if you've slipped sideways into a parallel universe where Bunnings sells contentment instead of snacks. Now, I'm not talking about your tourist trap nonsense, your Byron Bays full of influencers doing yoga next to a $14 oat milk flat white. I'm talking about the towns that genuinely feel off, in a good way. Towns that make you stand on the main street, slowly turn 360 degrees, and mutter, nah, this can't be Australia. This must be a mistake. So strap in. Today we're doing 8 Australian towns that don't feel real anymore. And before the comments section starts sharpening its knives, yes, I know I missed your one. I always miss your one. Calm down. Pop the kettle. Let's go. 8. Inverell, New South Wales. We start in the New England tablelands in a town that has somehow stayed quietly excellent for about 170 years without anybody making a fuss about it. Inverell, the Sapphire City. And before you start, no, it's not made of sapphires. They just used to dig a lot of them out of the ground here back when the economy meant whacking a pickaxe into a hill until something shiny fell out. What makes Inverell feel unreal is the tone of the place. It's classic inland Australia, wide streets, big sky, sandstone buildings, but it's done up properly. Trees lining the footpaths, nice gardens. The cafes actually know what a cup of coffee is. Nothing's falling down, nobody's yelling. It's like someone took a country town from 1955, ran a duster over it, plumbed in some decent Wi-Fi, and went, there, don't ruin it. And here's the unsettling bit. The people seem genuinely fine. Not Sydney fine, where fine means I'm 3 coffees in and considering selling everything I own. Actual fine, like they've solved something the rest of us are still Googling. You drive out of Inverell scratching your head going, why isn't everywhere like this? And the answer is because everywhere else has Bunnings car parks the size of small countries and a Macca's that doubles as a teenage dating app. Inverell skipped that chapter. 7. Cowra, New South Wales. Down the road in the Central West, there's Cowra. Now, Cowra is a town with a story. World War II POW breakout, Japanese gardens that wouldn't look out of place in Kyoto, a peace bell. The whole place has this weird, dignified, slightly haunted vibe, like the town sat down sometime in 1945 and decided, right, we're going to take it easy from now on. We've had enough. And it has. Cowra is the most aggressively peaceful town I've ever been to. People wave at you from their cars without any aggression. I didn't know that was possible. I genuinely thought a wave from a moving vehicle in this country was always followed by a finger. The streets are wide, the lawns are mowed, the op shops are dangerously good. There's a Japanese garden with koi the size of small dogs, and you can walk through it in absolute silence, except for the wind in the maples and the gentle sound of you wondering whether you should sell your house and move here. Cowra doesn't feel real because nothing's trying. It's just being a nice town. No marketing, no vibrant lifestyle precinct, no bloke in a council jacket trying to brand it as the next big thing. It's just, Cowra, mate. Take it or leave it. Most people leave it. Their loss. 6. Echuca, Victoria. Now we head to the Murray River and a town that has, against all odds, refused to leave the 1880s. Echuca was once the biggest inland port in Australia. Paddle steamers, riverboats, timber, wool, the whole Mark Twain fantasy, but with more flies. And then the railways came, and Echuca should have quietly faded into a footnote like every other river port on Earth. It didn't. It just stayed. Stayed historic, stayed wooden, stayed exactly like it was, except now there's an ice creamery and a couple of pubs that do a properly good parmy. You walk down the wharf at Echuca and there are still working paddle steamers chugging up and down the river, working ones with actual steam coming out of actual chimneys and blokes in vests yelling things at each other in a friendly way. It's like the whole town made a quiet pact in about 1910. We're not doing the 20th century. We're staying here. We like it. And the 21st century came and went, and Echuca looked at it like a dog looking at a magic trick, mildly curious, fundamentally unbothered. You leave Echuca smelling like river and wood smoke and you can't tell what year it is. And that, my friends, is the highest compliment a town can earn. 5. Stanthorpe, Queensland. Now this one breaks people's brains. Stanthorpe in Queensland, where it snows. Yeah, snows in Queensland, the state whose entire identity is humid, sunburnt, full of things that bite. Stanthorpe sits up on the granite belt at about 900 meters, and in winter it gets cold enough that Queenslanders genuinely believe they're going to die. I've seen blokes from Brisbane come to Stanthorpe in July wearing 4 jumpers and a beanie they bought specifically for the trip, looking around like they've been kidnapped to Norway. They cannot process that this is the same state that has cane toads. And the town itself is gorgeous. Stone buildings, wineries, good ones, apple orchards, strawberry farms. The whole landscape looks like somebody airdropped a chunk of Tasmania into the Sunshine State and never told anyone. The locals are unfazed. They're out there in flannel shirts, drinking Shiraz, growing things that don't grow anywhere else in Queensland, quietly running one of the country's best food regions while everyone else argues about Bondi. Stanthorpe feels unreal because it's a piece of Australia that fundamentally does not match the brand, and I love it for that. The country needs more places that refuse to be on message. 4. Naroma, New South Wales. Down on the far south coast, there's a town where the water is the wrong color. I don't mean polluted wrong, I mean too good, almost embarrassing. Naroma. The water in Naroma is a kind of blue that doesn't exist on the rest of the New South Wales coastline. It's like someone got out a packet of food dye and went, right, what would Mediterranean look like if it was raised by Aussies? You stand on the bridge over the Waganga Inlet and the water is so clear you can see the rays gliding underneath, big ones, just casually doing rounds like janitors. There's a famous spot called Australia Rock, which has a hole in it shaped almost exactly like Australia, which you'd assume was a tourist scam, except it's been there for several million years and predates tourism by a comfortable margin. And the town itself is just calm. There's a golf course on a headland that looks like it was designed by a deity having a really good day. Seals lounging on the breakwater like they're being paid by the hour. Fish and chips that genuinely make you go quiet for a minute. Naroma feels unreal because it's that rare thing, a coastal Australian town that hasn't been ruined yet. Yet. Somebody's working on it, no doubt. There's always somebody. But for now, you can walk along the foreshore at sunset, watch a stingray cruise past your feet, and feel like you've personally negotiated peace with the universe. 3. Kyneton, Victoria. Now we go inland an hour out of Melbourne to a town that has quietly become Australia's best-kept secret while pretending it isn't doing anything special. Kyneton, Macedon Ranges, pronounced Kyneton. If you call it Kyneton, the wisteria withers slightly. Kyneton is what would happen if a Cotswolds village had a baby with a Victorian gold rush town, and that baby was raised on really good sourdough. The main street, Piper Street, is lined with blue stone buildings from the 1850s, and every single one of them is now either a wine bar, a bookshop, a homewares place selling linen napkins for the price of a small car, or a restaurant booked out 3 weeks in advance. It is aggressively charming. It's like the town is daring you not to fall in love with it. The trees are deciduous. The deciduous trees actually do their thing properly. Autumn looks like a postcard, not a tired gum tree dropping bark on your windscreen. And there's a quiet wealth to Kyneton that's hard to explain. Nobody's flashy, nobody's in a Lambo, but the houses are immaculate. The dogs are well-groomed. The children speak in full sentences. You go to the bakery and the woman behind the counter is wearing a linen apron like she's just stepped out of a Vermeer painting, and the croissant is $9 and somehow you don't even mind. Kyneton doesn't feel real because nowhere this nice should be allowed to exist within commuting distance of Melbourne without being completely overrun. But it just sort of isn't. It absorbs people, quietly, without fuss, like a really polite black hole. 2. Castlemaine, Victoria. Just up the road from Kyneton, you've got Castlemaine, and Castlemaine is its own thing. If Kyneton is what if Australia had servants, Castlemaine is what if Australia got therapy. This is a town full of people who, at some point in their lives, looked at a Sydney mortgage or a Melbourne commute and went, nah, And they packed up and moved to Castlemaine, and they brought their sourdough starters and their podcasts and their opinions about ceramics, and they built a town where burnout never won. Castlemaine feels like an alternate universe Australia where everybody got off the hamster wheel about 15 years ago. People work, but not desperately. They make things: pottery, music, gin, cheese, those weird little zines you find in cafes. There's a thriving art scene, a theatre festival, and a population of dogs who are clearly more emotionally regulated than I am. You walk down the main street and there's a guy busking with a cello. Not for money, for fun. For fun! Imagine being so unbroken by capitalism that you play the cello on a Tuesday because you feel like it. And the architecture is gorgeous. More gold rush bluestone, big old hotels, those wide verandas that scream, "We used to be important." But unlike a lot of old goldfields towns, Castlemaine didn't shrivel up after the gold ran out. It just reinvented itself, quietly, into a kind of spiritual sanctuary for people who think Yarraville is too intense. It feels unreal because it shouldn't work. A town full of artists and tradies and farmers and writers and weirdos and retirees all coexisting in apparent harmony. Mate, that's not Australia, that's a TED Talk. Number 1. Denmark, Western Australia. Now, if I had to pick the single most "how is this place real" town in Australia, it would be a close-run thing. But Denmark, Western Australia would be on the podium. Denmark sits on the south coast of WA between the Kari forests and the Southern Ocean, and it should not be allowed. The forests are cathedrals. Kari trees are the third tallest tree species on Earth, and standing under them you feel like a woodlouse who's watered into a planning meeting. The beaches, Green's Pool, Elephant Rocks, Madfish Bay, are jokes. Genuinely. They look like screensavers. The water is turquoise. The sand is white. The granite boulders are arranged with the kind of artistic precision you'd expect from a town planner with a very large budget and no constraints. And then there's the town itself, which is small and welcoming and full of cheesemakers, winemakers, gin distillers, surfers, hippies, retirees, and a confused but happy population of tourists who can't quite believe what they're seeing. The temperature is mild. The seasons actually exist. You can drink a Pinot from a vineyard you can see from where you're sitting. There are people who've lived their whole lives in Denmark, and you can sort of tell because they have this look. The look of someone who knows something the rest of us don't. Denmark doesn't feel real because it's geographically isolated, climatically unusual, and aesthetically suspicious. You stand on a beach there at sunset and you genuinely think, if this place gets discovered, I'm done for. But it's so far from everywhere, Perth's a 5-hour drive, that it stays itself. For now. So there you go. 8 Australian towns that don't feel real, and probably won't, no matter how many times you visit them. Some of them are quiet, some are weird, some are gorgeous, some look like they were assembled by a committee that had recently received a head injury. All of them are, to me, more Australia than anywhere on a postcard. If I missed your town, and I definitely did, drop it in the comments. I read them, I do. I read them with a cup of tea and a slowly rising sense of regret. Tell me what I got wrong. Tell me what I got right. Tell me where you'd send a mate who'd never been to Australia and you wanted to break their brain in the best possible way. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Share it with someone who needs to leave the city for a long weekend. Until next time, keep your tank full, your itinerary loose, and your expectations low. That's how this country sneaks up on you. Cheers.